Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's board meeting. Can everybody please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I would have.
Roll call, please, Mrs. Stover.
Mrs. Applebaum? Here. Mr. Applebaum?
Here.
Mr. Jacob?
Here.
Mr. Major? Mrs. Mogerman?
Here?
Dr. Ciortino?
Here.
Mrs. Feldman?
Here, thank you. The Board of Education is pleased to recognize an exceptional group of Parkway students who earned All-State Music Honors during the All-State Festival concert at the Missouri Music Educators Association Conference in late January. In addition, we'll recognize Stu Cabe from the Ovation Company. Mr. Cabe has inspired countless Parkway students, teachers, and principals. First, I would like to invite Sandy Collins, Coordinator of Fine Arts, to the podium for the recognition of our students. And I say welcome back.
Good evening, President Feldman, members of the board, Dr. Marty, Mrs. Stover, and ladies and gentlemen. It is with great honor that I introduce 28 extremely talented and dedicated Parkway High School musicians who have achieved the distinction of being selected to perform in the 2014 Missouri All-State Choir, Band, or Orchestra. Auditions, as you must know, for these performing positions are extremely serious and competitive. Prior selection at the local level was necessary, and auditions at the next level had to be performed perfectly with technical skill above and beyond, with the understanding that made them stand out from hundreds of other students who wanted to have those positions also across the state. This year it was just a little different because of the snow and the weather. So some of the auditions had to actually be taped and sent in. Is that right, guys? Yeah. So it was an extremely well-deserved honor. They represented Parkway in their respective concerts, which were performed at the Missouri Educators Conference in Tantera at the end of January before hundreds of music teachers and parents and well-wishers. These successful students have demonstrated the very highest level of musical competency and have shown a personal commitment to artistic excellence. I congratulate you for that. Keep working. I would like to thank their music teachers for motivating, nurturing, and guiding these students into skilled and accomplished musicians, and that you are. Parents, thank you also for your continued support along the way. I know that you must be very proud of your students tonight, as we are of our 2014 All-State Music students, so congratulations to all. I would now like to introduce each of the students, please, by school, and ask that they join their principals and teachers to the podium to be recognized by our distinguished Parkway Board of Education. And so let us begin with Central High School. Okay. Principal Tim McCarthy, please come forward. And Winifred Kroc, Claire Minnis, if she's here, Doug Hoover, and that would be our Central people. We're all going to help congratulate you. Okay, so here we go. We have a large contingency of orchestra kids today. So come forward as you hear your name. Joshua Adams. Joshua. You know what I'd like to know, which I didn't get a chance to gather? Is this, Joshua, your first year, second, third, or fourth? Which? It's my first year. First year. Okay, Joshua. Good job. Okay. Amy on. And which year? First year, another one. All right. We hope to see you back. William Kroc. Mr. William Kroc, Central High. And William, I think this is your, I'm going to guess, second? Yeah, second year, William. Elise Gibson. No? She's not going to be able to come. Okay, Sarah Yi-Ji Kim. Which one? Third year to be selected. All right. Kajan Kumar. Okay, and we've got a violin player. First year. All right, good. Sharon Ja Kumar. I would guess you might be sister. Talented family. Miss Kumar, which year? Was this your first year? First year? Yes. First year, okay. And Daniel Larson. Oh, Daniel's here. Viola. First year again. We've got a newcomers. That's great. Sarah Madsen, cello. And Sarah's here. Sarah, I know you've been before, right? How many years? Just your first again. Wow, what a contingent. Julie, I'm sorry. Win. Julie. Viola, right? And first year? Second year being selected. All right. I'm glad to see the passion continues after year one. Okay, Lucas Schenker. And Lucas. First year again. Here we go. And Matt Zhang. Matt. And Matt's violin as well. What year, Matt? He was second year this year. He's been twice. All right. And now I don't know if Aiden McCarter is with us from choir. All right, Aiden, come right up. Okay. Second year. Aiden's been twice. All right. Greta Rosenstock.
Greta is at another performance.
She's at another performance. Thank you. Maggie Mueller. Let's go. All right, we can do that. First year Maggie. Thanks, Maggie. We'll go out of order a little bit. Greta's not here. And
They're at this one. Choir's performing.
oh, yeah, there's another. These kids perform all over the place. Joshua Adams. And he was a trombone alternate. Is Joshua here? Oh, Joshua, another one. How did you do two things? Trombone alternate. Okay, had to. Okay, trombone and cello. What a talented kid. All right. And so this concludes, as I believe, the Central High All-State students. What a contingent that is. Talented. Thank you so much. Winnie and Doug, thank you for your work. Thank you. You're welcome. And thanks, Tim. Thanks for being there. Okay. And they're going to have some pictures, but let's go ahead and call Dr. Jenny Marquardt, please, and start with our North High students. And Brian Reeves is here. I don't know if Ken is here. Are you representing the North teachers tonight, Brian? Yes? Okay. And Brian's here. Okay. And let's start with orchestra if we could. Ryan Wahidi, cello. Come down, Ryan. How many years, Ryan? 3 years. 3 years. Okay, and choir, Kara Jacobson. Is Kara with us tonight? Okay. They may be coming later. We've got a time discrepancy. Erin Neifert, and maybe they're not here either, but two choir kids from North High. So thank you very much, North, and we appreciate your being here. South High, may I please call down Dr. Patrice H., and any teacher that's here from South, I think, who was it that said they were coming? Maybe Jonathan Owen, perhaps? You're going to fill in for everybody. You know what? I think they've got a musical going on, don't they? Don't you? They all are. In fact, I don't know if anyone's going to be here, so I'll read their names so we can honor them anyway. But they're working on a musical. All right. So we had, let's see, Rachel Chung, violin. And she is here. Okay. Rachel, how many years? Second year. Okay, good job. And David DeBruyne, contrabass. David, is David here? No. And Daniel Bird, bass. Daniel. I know that some of them are in rehearsals right now. And let me think, choir then, Cole Ali, and I know he's performing in the musical, so Cole's not here. And band, Sam Moeller. I hope I said the name right. Sam, trumpet, woohoo! Thank you. First year? First year, and we love to see trumpet players get in the... there aren't very many selected for the orchestra, so if you get the trumpet player, that's quite something. Go brass. All right. Thank you. All right. Dr. Jeremy Mitchell, let's go ahead with West High now. And I think maybe you're it tonight? Okay. Okay, and I believe they're working on some a musical at West too. You'll have to come to those concerts as well and shows. Well, from the orchestra, and Ed Sandheinrich is the orchestra teacher, he was able to send Jeon Rue, cello, Anthony Sue, and Rebecca Sue, all of them together. Sue family. Let's hear what year. Second year? Okay, Anthony, third year. All right. And second year. Okay. Return, repeat, winners. And finally, we have John Gabero in choir. Is John with us? He may be in the musical as well, but we did have a choir student. Now, I know that this, if I could just recognize a couple of students in addition to Allstate, I think it's definitely a worthwhile thing to do. Because we take these students and sometimes they audition and make national orchestras. And so therefore, wave your hand if you hear, but the American String Teachers Association gets applicants from all over the country. We had 4 selected to join the National Orchestra, and that's Anthony Sue, West High, you just met, Anru, West High, David Wahidi, North High, and Daniel Bird, South High. Wow, 3 different high schools. That's very, very nice. Okay, and let me go ahead with the National Association for Music Education. They also have a national orchestra. Can you imagine all the violin and string players all over the country, and all you can pick is enough for one orchestra? Just put that in your mind. William Kroc, Central High, was selected. Sarah Kim from Central High. Julie Nugent, yes, Central High. Rachel Chung, South High. And Melinda Lai, Central High. And that's 5 students in the National Orchestra for Music Educators. So congratulations to all the students. We are indeed proud of all your work. And so at this time, I'll turn it back to Beth Feldman. Thank you.
Hello. Am I on? Yeah. Also, Sandy, I'd like to thank the parents of these students that have come out tonight. In addition to the teachers, I see some of the teachers are still in the audience. Without your encouragement, I know these students would not go as far in their music careers as they've gone so far. So thank you to the parents. Thank you, Sandy. Now I'd like to call on Dr. Chelsea Watson to come forward.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I am here to recognize Stu Cabe. Stu Cabe is the CEO and founder of the Ovation Company based out of Idaho. The Ovation Company is a school resource organization focusing on positive school climate and helping to improve student achievement. Their sole purpose is to help students work hard, play fair, and be nice. This organization plays a role in school culture and helps students understand the impact of bullying and delivering an attainable and simple message on treating people nicely on a daily basis. From workshops to large programs, Stu understands that he can help students change their behavior and impact our world. Stu is a specialist in promoting improved school climate, cultivating positive interactions with all of those in which he shares. He has been a professional presenter and a trainer for over a decade, and he travels the country working with students, staff, and community members, helping to build strong communities, improving their climate and culture. At the 2012 Character Plus Conference, I had the amazing opportunity with many other administrators and parents and staff here in Parkway to hear Stu Cabe. His message was so simple and so moving. It was simply to be nice. Beyond our hopes for academic excellence, what do we want for our students? We want them to be nice. We want them to fully understand the impact that they have on their own lives and their lives of others. This is Stu's third appearance here in Parkway. He delivered a message to all staff at our back-to-school kickoff in 2012. In February 2013, he was a keynote speaker at multiple assemblies, delivering his powerful message to students at 12 elementary schools and 5 middle schools. And he returns again to Parkway this month, working with students at Southwest Middle School, West Middle School, and South Middle School. So please, join me in recognizing Stu Cabe for the impact that he has on our Parkway community and the greater world in helping our students understand how to simply be nice.
Hi, everybody. I'm from Idaho, which is not a joke. I wasn't sure until about, a minute ago that I might be able to say hello and thank you for welcoming me into your community. I travel all over the country, actually next week, international, Canada. And yay, I'm going to Kelowna, BC next week. And so that means I can change my business cards to international speaker. And I speak to about 150,000 students a year. Or so, and this year will mark my 1 millionth student, which is a milestone in the industry of what it is that I do. And I just wanted to take just literally 2 minutes. I have a business partner. His name is Jeff, big, tall, furry man. We call him Sasquatch. And he's traveled, and he's actually speaking currently in Portland this week. And him and I will call and compare notes, which I think is natural. And a lot of it is just comparing our notes about our presentation and how things went. And we use baseball terminology, which I'm in a baseball town. And so I'll say, Jeff, how did it go? And he'll say, Stu, it's a home run, And then maybe every once in a while he'll say, Stu, how did it go? And I'll say, Jeff, knocked it out of the park, And then, hey, Jeff, how did it go? It was a grand slam home run. And I'm like, wow, okay, and then we try to top each other. Well, it's a grand slam home run that we knocked out of the park. And then the final one, the one that we believe is we can't go any farther, it was a grand slam home run that we knocked out of the park that broke windows in the building across the street. And so now in all of the years, we just truncated to how'd it go? Broke windows. And that's just it, we broke windows. And I have a very unique and strange job where I get to travel all over the country, and I get into a lot of districts. And I get into some that are broken, that are really struggling to find their way. I get into some that are trying to get the right people on the bus, and they're finding their journey as well. Every once in a while, I get into a district where it's a grand slam. And every once in a while, it's a grand slam out of the park. But when I get to Parkway, I can say with experience in 100, and 50,000 students a year and 1 million under my belt, that I can say this is a district that is breaking windows. And for somebody who has a perspective, that doesn't come lightly. It could have been very easy for me. I've never done this in 14 years. My face is red. Very easy to stand up here and say thank you and walk, but I wanted to say that this is, it's like Disneyland coming here to this district because of the support and because of the belief that we're not waiting for something terrible to happen, that we are being proactive about our climate and culture. And I think that's aggressive and fantastic, and just congratulations on breaking windows. So I want to thank you all very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Sandy Collins is going to come back down for one more student. Hold on just a second.
Well, she probably couldn't find a parking spot. I don't know. I can use my teacher. I remember how to do that too. We have one last student, and if they have heard this recognition, we should give it to them. So Karen Jacobson from North High, if you could please come up, and Alco, second year in All States.
We're now going to take a break for a few minutes, give the students and teachers a chance to make their exit. We know that you guys have very busy lives and right, have to go home, practice, do homework, study for a test, and all that stuff. So thank you all for coming. Congratulations once again, and we'll reconvene in a few minutes. going to get started again. 4.0 additions, corrections, and modifications to the agenda. There are none. 5.0, there are no citizen statements tonight. 6.0, call for executive session. There is none. Approval of the agenda for tonight. May I have a motion and a second to approve tonight's regular meeting agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Communications 9.01, update on Board of Education filing. At the end of filing, 5 people have filed for 3 open positions on the Board of Education. They are in order of filing, and please stand when I read your name. Dee Mogerman, Deborah Hopper, Chris Jacob, Wade Weiser. He doesn't have to stand, he's already standing. And Tim Sauer. Filing closed on Tuesday, January 21st at 5 p.m. at the Administration Building, and the election will be held on April 8th, 2014. The League of Women Voters is once again holding a 2014 Board Candidate Forum, which will be held on March 27th at South Middle School beginning at 7 p.m. If you're unable to make it, it will be live streamed on the Parkway website, and you could submit questions through right there on your computer. You can submit questions to the candidates. That's a real 21st century candidate forum for you. Calendar of meetings. The next regular meeting on the Board of Education is scheduled for Wednesday, March 12, 2014 at the Central Middle School at 7 p.m. Board liaison reports. Go ahead.
I had the great honor of going with Superintendent Marty down to Springfield on January 26th when the Parkway West Swim Club was inducted into the Missouri State Hall of Fame. And 1,600 people there. It was just a great experience that night to listen to the very many people, all the way from the voice of the Mizzou basketball, Gary Link. There was a guy inducted, the first time they've ever inducted anybody who was a rodeo. And this was an impressive guy who had ridden 240 straight events. And I don't know how his body's still together, even at age 31, riding a 2,000-pound. But anyway, it was just a great event, and it was especially good to see not only our swim club recognized, think of it, 23 state swim titles for Parkway West, but then to see about 20 students there, too, who were supporting and had a chance to see it. And I thank our booster club for helping meet the finances so that they could be there and be part of that great occasion. It was really special and nice to see. In addition, I Saturday attended the Parkway All-District Choir Concert for our 5th graders. Wonderful voices. It was nice to see Sandy there, who was able to walk on her own and help introduce that great event. And there's 200 kids that participate in that and sing their hearts out. It was just wonderful. My only complaint has always been it's just not long enough. Lasts about 50 minutes. But they're standing room only for the parents. It's just they enjoyed it that much. And I think that's it. Oh, let's see. I went to the, over here at Parkway Central, just before our meetings today, the art show that they have over there, about 200 budding artists from that are part of the Central School, the feeders and that to Parkway Central High School. And it was nice to see. They even had on some of them that little QR so that you could scan it, and then you could listen to the child talk about why they did what they did and what they hoped you would see in it. And it's very, very nice.
Another example of 21st century learning. Anybody? I just want to say real quickly that this afternoon, Dr. Marty, Dr. Watson, Dr. Torgerson and I had the opportunity to spend some time with parents and staff, and Desi, sorry, where's Desi? Sorry. Parents and staff at Piermont, and I just want to say how impressed I was by the engagement of the parents and by the teamwork of the teachers and the staff at Piermont. It's not often that we see a whole school full of staff together in one room, and we get to hear their conversations and how they interact. And I was just so impressed in the teamwork and how they all really have a passion for their school. So I just want to give a shout out to them.
I understand there are some high school students in the room observing our meeting. I thought maybe you'd like to introduce yourselves and tell us why you're here.
Not to put you on the spot or anything. Well, great. Welcome. We're so glad to have you. You're going to be interested in some of the reports that are yet to come.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on now to 10.0 action items. May I have a motion and a second? Or is there, may I have a motion and a second to approve?
Second.
Is there anything that needs to be pulled, or are there any questions? What?
Our rhythm.
Our rhythm. Anything that needs to be pulled to action? No. Anybody? Okay, then all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. 11.0, there are no individual action items tonight. 12.0, policy review. 12.01, reporting violent behavior and criminal conduct by students and maintaining student records. Does anybody have any questions about this policy and the updates? Okay, then we're going to move on. Thank you, Mr. Barilak, for coming. We will vote on this policy approval on March 12th. 13.0 reports, Goal 5, exceptional staff. Call on Dr. Joy Torgerson. Director of Human Resources, Liz Morrison, Professional Learning Coordinator. I can tell you all that Joy has had a busy day.
Well, you all are always anxious for the Joy and Liz show at this time every year, so we've geared up for it.
I'm tired already.
This is just a little review of Goal 5, and just so that you all will remember that we have 4 measurable objectives. Last year, we did a little revision, and so we have Objective 4 that we combined into Goal 5. Measurable Objective 1 has to do with the effective teacher evaluation model. Objective number 2 is that all employees, not just the teachers, that we want to have effective models, evaluation models. Objective number 3 is the diversity of our teachers and our administration and supervisors will mirror our students. And Objective 4, which we added last year, was just little reorganizations, the professional learning collaboration that will positively impact our student population as well. We made that decision to make that change because it really fits into professional learning and growth, and which is what Goal 5 is all about. Our next piece is that we're going to talk a little bit about the accomplishments that have happened. The good thing about Goal 5 is that we took off and had started a little bit on the teacher evaluation instrument, and we instituted that. Now we're in our 3rd year of full implementation on the teacher evaluation model. We have done lots and lots of work. The committee, which is a mixture of administrators and teachers, work and revise. It is an instrument, a program that continues to evolve. So it just shows really collaboration at its finest. The student growth inclusion is a little bit new this year because with Missouri waiver going through, we needed to be very clear that student growth was a part of our evaluation model. As far as where we are on that is that we have spent Julie Pepper, the NEA president, Liz Morrison, and Kevin Beckner visited every single school. They went on the road and talked about that student growth component, what it was going to look like, what we were going to do to try to get that piece in. And so what we're going to spend next year doing is actually developing the instruments that we're going to be using, and we will be ready for implementation the following year. So I think no matter what the state's doing, we're kind of on our timeline and feel really pretty good about it. The next piece is the administrator evaluation model. We're in year 2. Last year we were piloting that. We're actually in year 2 with that, and we have it up and going and have tweaked it. In fact, we just had a meeting a month ago and then again today on tweaking the electronic piece of that. But it is up and going for all administrators, both school, curriculum coordinators, and also our operations administrators. Speaking of today, we have all of our operations employee evaluations now on the electronic system as well. So we're hopeful that we're going to roll that out and use it this spring, knowing that we have a little bit of training and user work to do with that. But by the start of this next year, all of our evaluation systems will be online. Whew. Time to revise and start again. The next piece that we'd like to talk about with accomplishments, Liz is going to take and talks about professional learning.
Good evening, everyone. For the professional learning, we're going to go a little bit more in depth as we go through the presentation, but the highlights here, we're going to talk about operations, the new online opportunities, new hire orientation, and PLC differentiated development. So, it's time for operations. The operations professional learning, what you're looking at is a slide of the operations conference that was held on the first Friday in November, and we're looking forward to doing that again next year. Both Dr. Marty came and did a speech, and Beth was there as well, and it was really a great turnout. We had over 300 operations employees who attended, and they participated in a variety of breakout sessions from the chef was there. We had our health gal, living healthy lifestyles, training on the computer skills. It was just really a great thing, and lots of different people from all of our different operations departments were participating, and it was a really great day with a lot of support from the operations managers and directors. In addition to that, we have started doing late start development. Now, when Elizabeth Mays was here, we did late start development for our financial secretaries, the ones who worked with Sue Reno, who does a great job of leading that development. Since then, we have added, during late start time, development for our secretaries on a tiered schedule to provide them with different kinds of development for their different job responsibilities. And that's been going on since, I guess, December. Then we missed the last one. We've got another fabulous plan. We're just going to do what we're going to do. And Jen Holtman, who was hired with Jason, has been really helping out with that a lot. So she's been a great addition. Now, we already have next year planned, and so we can get that out to our secretaries ahead of time so they can figure out which ones they want to attend during that time. So we're really trying to take the lead on that. Also, all of our operations managers and directors are now going to be putting their own courses in peers and giving them a little bit more control of the development they do for their different groups. So that's kind of where we were on operations. Did I forget? Okay, good. New teacher and new administrator orientation. These are two of our big events through the professional learning department. We do lots, but these are two that make a huge difference. We do our new teachers now for 3 years instead of 2. We have mentors for 2 years, and in their 3rd year, it's about learning about Parkway as a district. And that's why they've been attending the Project Parkway meetings, because we're trying to get them to understand that, yes, you might work at Carmen Trails, but you also are part of Parkway. And it has met with great success. I think it's because they get introduced and it makes them feel good, but it has been a really positive change in our new teacher program. New administrators, the slide that you're looking at is we do a panel with our new administrators. So the last year new administrators come back, so the year 2s come back and they talk to the year 1s about what they learned their first year as an administrator in Parkway. And that one is kind of organized with Lisa, Chelsea, Desi, as well as Jenny Marquardt, Bonnie McCracken, and Michael Bogus, and me to get that organized for our new administrators so we can kind of bring in all of those people. So that has been, both of them have made a positive impact, and we get really good reviews on that work. I'm waiting to hear what the year 3 teachers really say, but that's where we are. So.
Now we're going to talk about each of our measurable objectives. And if you remember, measurable objective 1 is the teacher evaluation system. So what we looked at is where the teachers were rated in each of those 5 domains at the end of the year. And those 5 domains are on the bottom, and what you'll see with the bar graph is that we have the 4 areas. There's exemplary, effective, developing, and ineffective. The thing that I would ask for you to remember is that our evaluation systems are growth models. So we would expect that we would have folks in all of those categories. The ineffectives, we will work with performance improvement plans, and so we'll do things to actually support, coach, and certainly Elizabeth's going to talk about that a little bit later about some of the things that are available. So you don't see a whole lot of those ineffectives, but developing would certainly be something that we would expect, especially with new teachers, and there may be areas in one of those domains that people are just going to be working on. So we encourage people not to be afraid of those rating systems. That's what we're here to do, is to grow. The exemplary are folks that are really, not only do they, the administrator and the teacher have shown in that category, they have to have evidence of that exemplary status. So you will see that probably around 20% of our staff in each of those domains are exemplary. And you would hope out of that amount of folks working for us that would be certainly something that you'd appreciate that would be the case. But there's a lot of work. Some people will say, I'm okay with effective. I know I would be glad with some of those effectives. But, it really shows a high degree of really persistence in both the administrator and the teacher in getting through that. The next slide talks about all other employees. So it's all the operations employees and all the administrators. And so we have basically two categories. In other words, they're meeting or exceeding expectations, or we have an ineffective category. And just like the other categories, if someone's ineffective, then we're developing a plan and we're putting things in place to try to address what those areas are. So we would expect that most of our employees would be at those meets and exceeds categories. Measurable Objective 3 is really the objective that we spend a lot of time in working with our buildings, our administrators, universities, lots of folks, because what we're trying to do in Measurable Objective 3 is having our employees mirror our students, and especially our teachers and our supervisors, our administrators. What we want is that we have students who will see people that look like them, and that they will have role models. And so what we have, what this slide is showing, that last year's new hires, there are two categories. The blue bar are the teachers, and the red bar are the administrators. And we're making some gains. In the African American category, 17% of our administrators were in this category. The year before, 14%. The teachers, 8% of our teachers were African American. Of the new hires, the year before, they were at 4%. So we've gained in both of those categories. The Asian category, we have 4% of our administrators, no teachers this year. Our Hispanic category, 1% of our administrators, no teachers, and 8% of our administrators, and the same as last year, actually. Our total staff, and this is the reason we keep working on that, we've improved, but with our total staff, we still have about 8% of our total staff members are non-white. So we have our students who in the African American category are at 15% this year. So even though we're making gains in those areas, and we've had a lot of really attention given to our hiring process and making sure that we're recruiting, we still have a ways to go. So what we're trying to do is raise that percentage every single year so we can actually recruit students or actually teachers and administrators that mirror our students. The last measurable objective is 4. So back to Liz.
Back to me. And I have to say, I have been doing new teacher orientation a long time, and this was the most diverse our group was, and it was really exciting to see that, because I know our kids will be more, that'll be great for them. So anyway, thank you, Joy. So on the board, I have lots of bullet points, and I just want to touch on each of those to kind of give you an overview of our development. And I know many of you have attended many of these, so they'll just be sort of familiar. First of all, we do summer institutes. We are really excited this summer for the PLC Institute was differentiation last year, working on questions 3 and 4. Our secondary institute last year was working on the Common Core and assessment. And then we had in the elementary, their focus was on really the new standards and looking at the math and ELA units, and Toby and Susan really did a great job of leading that all across the district. It was crazy and it was amazing. This year for our Summer Institute, we have Anthony Muhammad, who is going to be talking. The book we're using is The Will to Lead, the skill to, tell it to me. The skill to lead, the will to lead. The Skill to Teach, thank you. It's an amazing book, and our principals, curriculum coordinators, instructional coaches, and the professional learning action team have already started reading that book in preparation for the summer. And every time I've had a meeting to plan the Secondary Institute, we've had a snow day. So we're gonna have one. We have no idea what the theme's gonna be, but it's gonna be awesome. And then we also have, for the elementary side this summer, we're starting a new grant, and so we're really kind of focusing in on that. New teacher induction. This year, the instructional coaches really have taken a lead role at the elementary and middle school level, moving in and really working with our teachers. The instructional coaches are the primary mentor for our new teachers at their buildings, which has been a very successful model. And they also have a go-to person at their building, and that's like that person that you go to, the go-to person. And it is in dictionary.com that you can find out what that person is, and that's the person that you're like, I don't know where the copiers are. So we have teachers who are in the role of go-to person, but our instructional coaches are actually the official mentors of our new teachers. And that's been a very successful shift from what we had before. We have administrator development at all of the principal meetings. We do development. Joy and I do teacher evaluation, and we also do PLC development for our principals. We have our curriculum coordinators lead so much development during the school year and during the summer for all of our teachers on a variety of topics, curriculum writing as well as great teaching strategies. We have national board certification going on right now. We have 27 teachers in the process, and the applications are due, I know, right? Amazing. And we have the applications are due on this Friday for the next group of people who are interested. We have teacher-initiated development, and that's this. Teachers will email me and say, hey, can we do this? They also do it at their school buildings with all things that are just kind of welling up from the ground, like, hey, this is what we really need development on. I already mentioned our instructional coaches. Not only do they do the work of working with new teachers, they also do all of the PLC leader development at their schools, as well as coaching cycles. So they are working really hard out there and really making a difference, and as are our math facilitators. They're doing a great job, and I left them off the list, but they're doing, not only they work with kids sometimes, but really they're rewriting our curriculum and getting ready to lead a lot of great development this summer. We also provide support for conference and workshop attendance, and that can be provided at the school curriculum coordinator and staff development level, because we know that even though we're awesome, it's great to get out there and hear what's happening in other districts and in other things so we can even learn more and bring it back. We're very busy. Okay. And you guys, I just wanted to bring up, our board policy, which aligns with our PNEA agreement about how we can make this happen. And we have had this policy for a long time, and sometimes it's great to look at history, because this board policy we have totally supports goal number 5, and ensuring that we have the opportunity to encourage people to continue their professional growth, because this is, like Dr. Marty says, a learning organization, and we want to make sure our people keep learning. So I just want to bring that up, because sometimes we forget that we have some really great stuff in place.
So our future plans. We are certainly going to continue revising and reviewing all the evaluation instruments and the process. Our student growth category will really be some intense work. It will really be hands-on and heavy lifting next year. We certainly are going to continue the hiring process, and as folks get a hold of us and think about partnerships, we're going to continue pushing Goal 5, and in particular Measurable Objective 3. Say if we're going to partner with you universities, we also want universities to start partnering with us in helping us get applicants and future teachers and student teachers who mirror our students. Recruitment, we will certainly keep we have been successful with our own recruitment fair, but we will continue looking at recruitment and alternatives and better places and better ways to find folks. We will continue with, as far as our online development opportunities, and I just want to mention before Liz takes over, is that when, the days of when someone is working maybe on their professional learning plan, or if we have a teacher who has on a performance improvement plan, we have opportunities for them to go online to get support in every single one of those domains and categories. And to think that in the span of a 3-year time frame, Liz has been able, and her folks have been able to do that. I mean, it's quite, it's really nice to say, here's something, you can go to it, instead of just out there in the blue somewhere. So
I think our next slide, and this, I try to take 2 screenshots so you guys can kind of get a feeling for what we have going on. So on the left, where it says resources for monitoring, assessment, and feedback, these are all videos that are aligned with that particular domain of professional practice. So if a teacher is marked developing, the principals have a resource for them to go to. And the resources came from Dan Tripp, made a lot of these videos. If you remember Dan from last year, made a lot of the videos for the different way we did New Teacher. But we're like, let's bring those out again. And then Kevin's team on assessment, progress, and monitoring, and John Barrow, their team has some validity stuff that we put up. There's some videos. So all the resources we have are kind of in one area under teacher evaluation on the website. So if there's a problem, you can kind of say, hey, why don't you take a look at this, and then we'll talk about it again and see how we can implement that in your classroom. Then I put this one up there for Beth. This is our flipped web page. It's flipped in Parkway. You can't see it all, but last year Beth asked about where we were going with the flipped classroom. So in the summer we offered a whole bunch of different developments. Some was teacher-led, some was led by the coordinators. This year our teachers are on fire. We have a bunch of teacher-led flips. So I was out doing flip development with the high school teachers this last week, and so I made a web page kind of bringing all of the resources together. But what I don't know if you can see up here is where it says contributed by Parkway teachers. I just kind of sent out an all call to the teachers who are flipping, and they started sending me all of their videos. And since then, I've added about 8 more. So, but I had made this video before, but I just wanted you to see that is moving forward. Lots of support from Bill and Tom on this one, but it's really cool, and our teachers are doing a great job in leading a lot of that development at their schools.
Can you just define for some people in the audience or watching, what's a flipped? Just generally, what is a flip?
I'm so glad you asked that question. So what the flipped classroom does, in a traditional class, the teacher would do the lecture is the introduction. So I was great at lecturing. So I would do my fabulous lecture on whatever it was we wanted the kids to learn, and then they would turn and talk and do some note taking, and that's kind of how the class was. With the flipped classroom, picture this: you give the test on Thursday, let's say. That evening, the kids are going to go home and watch a video that has the lecture recorded for them with something to do with it, so there's some kind of learning guide. So they're going to acquire knowledge at home. Then they come into the classroom and they are going to make meaning and transfer there. So that acquisition piece that we used to spend about 100%, not 100%, but a lot of time on, now kind of takes place at home. And then they come in and do, and there's so many cool things. A lot of the science people are doing the mastery flipped, where the kids come in and go directly to a station based on the learning the night before. Other people have a card system that they have the kids get in groups and talk about the learning. So just in case someone didn't do their homework, they can get it from someone else so they can move on and then do the homework later. Did that? Probably more than you needed. Okay. Did you visualize? Okay. So yeah, that's the flipped. And the last thing is our online learning opportunities. This is what our webpage looks like. This is what our webpage looks like, and right now we have culture responsive teaching going on, bring BYOD and Curiosity in the Classroom. We have about 45 teachers who are registered in these 3 classes, and basically they get the assignment in their email and they just complete it, and then they go to a shared learning space and share their learning. And they're learning on their own time outside of any kind of development, and all of it has to be applied in their classroom. So, for example, one of the things under Curiosity in the Classroom was using essential questions. So all of the teachers had to come up with something, and then they had to send me like a picture of it in action and then the reflection about how it went. So, and that's kind of our online learning. We're expanding content area literacy. All of our coordinators at the middle, high, and elementary will be working on having that available for next year, and monitoring, assessment, and feedback will also be available for next year. So, okay.
Questions?
Can I ask before I forget, because I'm known to forget, that split screenshot that you showed us? Do we have access to go look at the examples of the flipped?
Oh, it should, yeah. It's that, I don't know if I hot linked it to that, but it's Parkway, what is my website called? It's Flipped in Parkway. If you search for that, you might be able to find it, but otherwise I'll just send the email link.
Send it to me.
I'll send it to you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really cool.
The professional learning opportunities are those who are teachers go and put these are some of the best practices that have really worked for me in teaching a particular concept, or?
Yes, is that like, I'm sorry. Chris, can you ask me the question again? Sorry.
The professional learning opportunities, that part of the website, is that where I could, as a teacher, I could go there and say, well, I'm having difficulty with this, so if I go here and maybe I find that here's where somebody's been successful, and maybe I can apply that in my classroom.
Yes, and we're expanding that. So you actually go to my website, and there's the teacher evaluation model, and I've aligned the information with the domains under that. So a teacher or a principal could be like, oh, I'm really struggling here. I'm going to go look over here. And I'm developing that. It's not as good as it can be, but it's started. So we'll really, hopefully for next school year, it will really rock, and it'll be really good for the teachers and administrators to have. So.
Have teachers become a little more receptive to videotaping their lessons? I know when we first started doing this several years ago, you had some trouble getting teachers to do this at first.
So yes, they're much more comfortable, and they're comfortable sharing.
Good.
I mean, it was amazing to me, all this stuff I got, and of course everyone's like, oh, well, this isn't that great, and I watched them and like, oh my God, that's amazing. So they're really good, and also we've been teaching people how to do the narrated PowerPoint and turning it into a video and then uploading it to YouTube. So if they were worried about how they looked, they don't have to worry about it, because it's just really the narrative. And then I make them put a picture of themselves on there so the kids still feel like they're there. But that's been one way we've been able to kind of work our way in and get away from that fear of being filmed too.
Do you think that the success of the PLCs has maybe lent itself to the success of this, maybe a little bit? They're talking more, they're cooperating, they're sharing.
That is a great question. I'm not sure, and I don't want to put Becky Litherland on the spot, but she has lots of her teachers doing that.
Yeah.
Do you think the PLC, Becky? Do you think the PLC, Becky, has made that? Come on up. Sorry. She knows.
Sure, she does.
Yeah.
I'm excited to say that out of 37 math teachers at the middle level, we have 17 of them doing flipping. In various stages of the process.
Wow.
There are some free resources out there that have the videotapes if you're not brave enough to do the tape on your own, which has gotten several of them started.
Good.
But then after a while they go, well, now I'm ready to make my own.
Good.
So I'm watching teachers go down this path and getting more secure with it all the time. I have 2 6th grade math teachers who started with flip teaching and within 3 weeks moved to flip mastery.
Wow.
And you go in their room and it's phenomenal. The kids come in and some kids go over here and some kids go over here and some kids go over here based on how they felt with what they had to do the night before. It's hands-on activities. It's up and down and playing games. And so it's like you don't go in and sit there and watch the teacher teach. You can go in and walk around and listen to the kids as they learn and learn from each other. So it's really spreading. Now, the thing was, I was in the math teacher's room with the flip mastery. While I was there, I thought, I'll just go across the hall and go in the science teacher's room. He's doing mastery. I'm like, how'd you? Well, so-and-so, she was on my team and she was doing this, and so I thought, well, I'd try it. The PLC, the group at South Middle, 7th grade science, those 2 ladies in their PLC, they're doing the mastery learning. They've got it down. So the PLC and the whole team thing, it's just spreading. It's really exciting.
That's very exciting.
It's really exciting.
That's, and I'm not being critical because I think I would have a terrible time being videoed.
It
at
takes
my
some
work,
nerve,
so I
you know.
just
Yeah,
can't
it does take
imagine.
nerve, and they're kind of like, "Oh, do I want to do this?" But once they see, and I talked to kids. I said, "How do you like this?" And they said, "Oh, we really like this." And I said, "Why?" One kid said, "Well, because if I didn't get it the first time, I can rewind it back and I can play it again and listen to it." And the other one said, "Because I'm not disturbed by the other students in the class, and I don't have to listen to their questions. I can just focus." And it was like, listen to the kids.
How many times did they say I understood it in class? Now I'm home doing the homework and I can't remember what.
Right, exactly.
How many households in America spend night after night traumatized over mathematics? Think about it. How many of our homes? And to me, the flip just takes that away. And then we have parents who say, "Now don't watch the tape until I get home. I want to watch it with you." So it's just really, flip is just a minor, it's huge. It's just huge.
And so I think that the PLC part, Beth, Adita, your question
Talk
is-
in the microphone.
Oh, sorry. Thanks, Becky, very much.
Wait, Becky, don't go away. Becky, stay here.
Okay, stay, come back. Has made a difference about people feeling comfortable sharing with each other. Huge sharing.
Right.
And also, it's made people want to go watch each other teach. And that's been huge. Like I was sent out that flipped, the link for the flipped, and I got a text message back or an email back from a teacher saying, "I'm over here watching Patrick Wallace," and it was another one of his teachers from South Middle School who's over there watching him work so they can see what it looks like in a social studies classroom. So I think the collaboration piece is expanding, and the flipped is making it expand even more.
The question is really for both of you is, do we have any access problems for our middle school students?
It's very interesting because I got your other, question.
Right.
And so far, it hasn't come up in the flip room. Now, what I've seen is they have like 2 laptops with some headphones at a table in the room. So the student who was absent and didn't do the video, the student who had every activity under the sun occur last night and there was no way, the student who maybe didn't have access. So it's just kind of there in the classroom, and so if you haven't had a chance, you just go over there and do it. It's also available in the libraries, and it's available before and after school. If I've got 17 teachers doing this and no one has come to me saying, "I've got a problem with students needing access."
Interesting.
Thanks.
I wouldn't be worried about being videotaped. I'd just get George Clooney to stand in.
Oh, it looked just the same.
So you guys, I do want to say though, the flipped classroom isn't for everyone, and all the literature that we read, this for some people this will not work for their teaching style, but it is one strategy that we have lots of people who are interested in, so we just want to provide the development for those who are ready to move forward, because it's really a stage 3 piece. How am I going to teach this? But anyway, so just want to say that.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have to do it every class. We want a lot of flexibility that students can identify with.
Go ahead.
I have a question maybe for Joy. You talked a little bit about this, but what are you doing differently this year or last year to hire a more diverse teaching staff?
Well, to be honest with you, I think it has helped that we have an online application system that is very available everywhere. We will have folks that apply to us from internationally. We're talking about internationally, but we hired international candidates, this year. When we talk about using electronics, we actually Skyped interviews. So we're able to, find, candidates that we might not have been able to find before. We continue to work with our area universities. I have them report to me the percentage of the students in their education programs every year. And even though it may not be something that is, changing overnight, if they have to actually send that to me, because what I say is I'm deciding where we're going to recruit based on, the makeup of your students. So that's another thing. The other thing that I think the principals and the staff members did is just make a concerted effort to do do a wider range of interviews. I think they called in a bigger number, a bigger group. And those committees, they have to work hard because our committees are made up of, all sorts of folks. I mean, there could be, if we're hiring a math teacher, it's not going to just be the math department that's there. If we're hiring a fifth grade teacher, it won't just be the fifth grade department. So we have all of those teachers and administrators, and they're bringing in more people than I think they've ever brought in. And if you bring in more people, you're going to have a more diverse group. And so it's not just the people that we know or we have some tie to Parkway in some way. We really have been very successful in having a large group of candidates, and it surprises people because there are candidates no one knew anything about, and here they are, and they're stars. The other thing that I would really, thank all of, the high schools and the curriculum department is we do have those classes that we are trying to get kids involved in that are you interested in being teachers. And so what we're trying to do is have kids that are, might not have thought about, when I was in school, I thought all teachers, you were straight A students, of course, and therefore, otherwise you wouldn't be a teacher. And of course, I was a straight A student, but there are, so we try to let kids at the high schools, and Dr. Marty and Dee and I go out and actually talk to the one class at North every year. But we try to let kids know, actually, if you have struggled in school, you may be the best teacher because you know exactly how it feels and you know how many techniques that you need to use to keep kids involved in school. So we have our own kids from within that we're starting to try to attract into the teaching professions. So there are a lot of things going on, but I would have to say it's the rank and file hiring administrators that have made all the difference. They have taken the charge seriously and acted on it.
That's wonderful. There was so much discussion at the Project Parkway Steering Committee about that particular goal, so I'm glad we're working through that.
We're making progress, but we've got a lot, we got a lot of ways to go.
Great.
I just like to comment. You're right about about the steering committee. I mean, sometimes or districts, every school district in the country wants to hire a more diverse staff. But it takes effort, it takes strategies, and Joy has been a wonderful leader, but she's also got a great support from the principals. It's going to be a long process. I mean, you don't just suddenly go out and change your staff. And I think the most important thing is once you start kind of putting out the idea that, and you got results like Joy produced, you'll start having more diverse candidates looking at us because, it's about doing it consistently and always been looking for an absolute diverse staff in all areas of the organization. So.
Well, and you can just tell from our, steering committees, communications lab, I mean, it's not just a few people interested. It is on the minds of our teachers, and our teachers are our best recruiters. If you have an organization that you like working for and are supportive to you, you want to get other people along with you as well. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Could I just make one more comment about this report tonight? What you heard a lot is the idea of growth. And I just want to tell you, it's been a real pleasure. We've been doing a lot of negotiating with several groups. But one of the real positive things in our teacher negotiations, nurses, our CWA, is that when that topic comes up, I think we're an organization that is real interested, and I think our employees are understanding it and are very positive about national board promotion to work we're doing to provide training and kind of on-time opportunities. So it's been a real pleasure to, one thing to have in a report, but to actually hear the employees being excited about it and really encouraging that to be continued. And I think we are on a real good path in terms of getting everybody to think about it's not about arriving, it's about continually to grow. And then, of course, Desi's ongoing effort on growth mindset has really been helpful, too. He's not the only person, but he's been really, I think, preaching that, and I think that's been really very, very healthy. I think we're all understanding that it's an ongoing effort again, and this certainly has been very, very pleasing to see our whole organization really move in that direction. And I also will tell you the school board is part of that too, and they learn and grow and have opportunities that they take advantage of. So you're part of that growth as well, which we should not ignore.
We get a lot of books as
Yeah,
gifts.
that's- we do. We give you a lot to read. Yeah.
Hint,
Yeah,
hint.
yes, yes.
A nice novel would be good every once in a while. Okay.
Any more questions? Or?
Thank you both very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, next we're going to have our Early Childhood Steering Committee, and I'm so pleased to see so many people from our early childhood community joining us tonight. If you guys would like to move down, you're welcome to. We don't bite. We've got Lisa Meredith, and we've got Jean Manning, and I think we have Kevin
Beckner.
somewhere.
It's right here.
There. Oh, hey, how are you?
We have a former
And
school board member in
a
the house.
former school board president, I do believe,
Yes, you do.
Sue Huggins-Smith. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, President Feldman, Vice President Mogerman, members of the board, Dr. Marty, and Mrs. Stover. I am excited to be here this evening to share the recommendations of the Early Childhood Steering Committee. The past several months have been filled with collaborative meetings with many stakeholders who are friends and advocates of early childhood in the greater St. Louis area. And I would like to publicly thank those who served on our committee. If you are with us this evening and you served on our committee, please stand up.
And you?
I would also like to give a special thanks to Jean Manning and her early childhood administrative team. Any reflective journey can be filled with much excitement and anticipation. Jean led her staff through this journey and provided support in times of uncertainty, and I appreciate that leadership. Many of the early childhood staff members are here this evening to hear and to show support for early childhood. If you are part of the early childhood staff and you are not on the steering committee, please stand up. Dedication. Finally, Kevin Beckner served as our facilitator and was exceptional at designing opportunities for learning, dialogue, debate, and consensus building. He was given a tight timeline with specific outcomes, and his leadership was flexible yet focused on the goals. This evening, Kevin will provide an overview of the steering committee work and recommendations. Jean will then provide an outline of the upcoming work and next steps, and we will conclude with an opportunity for questions and conversations. So, without further ado, Mr. Beckner.
Well, thank you so much for the chance to be here and talk about early childhood. It was a pleasure for me to get to work with Jean and her staff. It was also a pleasure because as a former high school teacher, former middle school assistant principal, I didn't have a lot of experience with early childhood, and it was amazing to meet so many dedicated people who are really committed to early childhood and making sure our youngest learners get everything that they need. And as a parent of a 4- and a 2-year-old, I've gotten to see firsthand the value of early childhood education and really making sure that our children from the earliest ages get the kinds of learning that they need. So as Lisa said, we did have a long process, and we use this guiding question, really, how can we make sure that our youngest learners are getting what they need? And how can we make sure that we're supporting our youngest learners and their families, because our families are one of their primary audiences too, not just the children. Our process did include early childhood staff, but also private providers, parents, elementary administrators. We even had a high school principal who was part of our work, district level staff. We met from September through November. We did meet 6 times. They gave up many evenings, a full day of their time, and so we're really grateful for all of their participation. It was a lengthy process in a tight timeline. And in that time, we did use the early childhood program evaluation from a few years ago. We used the market study that was conducted last year, which found lots of information. We had a full binder full of data with lots of information about our community, our demographics, the number of providers in the area, all kinds of different information that helped us get a current reality of early childhood education in our community. Ultimately, we came back to, if we're going to design anything and design goals, we have to know what we're designing them for. And one of the questions that really came up early on and that we had to really probe into is when we talk about all. In the Parkway mission, it's sort of implied that all means all of our children who are enrolled in Parkway. When it comes to early childhood education, they don't necessarily enroll. So we had to really think about who is our audience here. Is it people who are going to enroll in elementary school in Parkway? Is it people who live within our boundaries? Is it bigger than either of those two definitions? What do we mean? And ultimately, after much debate and dialogue, and there was a lot, we settled on this as our overarching goal, that Parkway Early Childhood Education exists really for all children, kindergarten entry, all the way from birth, and even we've had this question a lot, what does it mean by prenatal in there? We actually put students into Infinite Campus right now before they're even born, as we're serving their families through parents as teachers. So really prenatal through kindergarten entry, that's who we want to serve them and make sure that they benefit from high quality, developmentally appropriate early childhood programming so that they can be capable, curious, confident learners. So with that being our overarching goal, we want to present to you 4 strategies to achieve that goal. Some are shorter term, some are longer term, but all of them are ones that we believe are necessary in order to accomplish that overarching goal. The first one, to increase community partnerships to benefit children and families as they prepare for their next developmental challenge. By partnerships, that includes our private providers, our universities, social services, just partnerships outside of just the programs that we currently offer. The second strategy, reduce or eliminate financial barriers that prevent children and families from accessing early childhood programming. I mentioned that we take part in my family in early childhood programming, but there are a lot of families that don't. And we're talk through some of what might some of those barriers be, and there might be some financial barriers there. So how might we reduce or eliminate those barriers? The third strategy, increase participation by strategically locating centers and satellite locations in all of our opportunities where they can be easily accessed by our families. Again, think of the idea of getting more and more people access. Are there people who are limited in their access because of where services are currently offered? Might there be other ways to place our services so that we can get broader access to all families and their children? And the fourth strategy, to increase public and parental awareness of the importance of participation in early childhood, high-quality early childhood experiences for children and their families. And I know our early childhood staff was very excited about this one because we have some people who just don't know how important early childhood education experiences are, both for the family and for the student, to really make sure that when students come to us in kindergarten, they are really fully prepared for that educational challenge. Those four strategies don't just happen in isolation, they do work together. So we might talk about, by increasing our partnerships, we might find ways to also reduce the financial barriers. Or by reducing financial barriers, that might mean also finding different locations. And so these things working in partnership with one another, and they create a full picture of how we might better provide access to all children and families in the Parkway community. And also, just so you know, we were intentionally vague about the language Parkway community because we wanted to be intentional that that did not just mean students within our boundaries, but it might also mean students coming to us as transfers, students coming to us as part of the VIC program, students who are coming to us from St. Louis City, and how might we be able to increase our partnerships to better serve those students as they come to us in kindergarten. So with next steps, I'm going to turn it over to Jean and let her talk a little bit about next steps.
Good evening. Next steps. We propose adding a strategy to the Parkway strategic plan, and that strategy would read, support children and families prior to kindergarten. We feel that this is important. If you look at our strategic plan, you'll recall that a strategy transcends all goals. And so this strategy will be added in this position, and then action steps will be created to link the various goals and consider the various components such as student outcome, community outreach, facilities, and financial impact. To determine the action steps, we will convene action teams and they will be considered and communicated with a variety of stakeholders. So we want community participants, private providers, Parkway Special Education and Early Childhood Program staff, university colleagues, the TLA coordinators, families, much like the makeup of the original steering committee. In the work ahead, so we will develop short and long-term action steps related to the strategies. Throughout the process, it was challenging when we were thinking about all these to not just go right to action steps, and so people were creating those in teams, and we had to really step back and really wait until the overarching goals were created and the strategies, and then really look at. So we already have somewhat of a short list that we brainstorm of action steps, and we want to create and really look at action steps and create a more thorough plan that would consider action steps through the effort, impact. I'm sorry, I'm not used to this clicker. The low effort, high impact matrix. Or the effort impact matrix. This will afford us the opportunity to identify action steps that could be implemented quickly with little effort yet yield high impact, such as if you look at increasing public and parental awareness, we know already that there are some marketing things we could put in place. And just for example, improving our early childhood website to get communication out more effectively, whereas there will be other things regarding decreasing financial barriers, which may take a longer time to have high impact, but it will take a greater amount of effort. So we know there are things we'll do quickly and then things that will be more of a long-term plan. At this time, we're going to open for questions, and I just wanted to mention, too, that one of the music students honored tonight, Michelle Chung, actually attended Wayne Hollow Preschool many years ago. So I'm sure that had a really good, big impact on her music ability today. So we'll open up now for questions and conversation.
Go ahead, Dee.
Kevin, you mentioned the families that don't necessarily live within Parkway's boundaries. Do we in any way ask our VIC families if they have younger children at home? Have we done that yet, or do we plan to do that?
Yeah, great question. I'm going to defer because I don't know the answer.
Sorry, you
Jean
can't.
knows the answer. Maybe Desi could speak to that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure in the elementary schools or in the schools if they ask that question, but for example, we know that the city schools have free preschool.
Right.
And so we have been in communication with their early childhood programs, and actually last summer provided some information when the South area had their picnic, so that families who came to the picnic, we provided early childhood materials for them to enroll in the city. So if they wanted preschooler parents as teachers, that they could participate in the city program, because it would be difficult to have families come, all the way out to Parkway.
Except
for
that I would
those services.
think we know those families are probably going to send their younger children to Parkway.
My thoughts would be, given the report and the recommendations, that part of the action steps will have to include identifying those when we can. But right now, we currently don't have a list of younger siblings who may come up through the system.
A great move forward, and then we have contact with them and can invite them to things, or maybe go to them for things.
So I think we have a volunteer from the board for an action team member. But I think it would be part that would be added to the strategy. So
I think it's a great opportunity to build that family base that Kevin spoke about and Jean spoke about.
Really look at it. There's some state funding issues about perhaps doing parents as teachers here, but they do have programs in the city and some very nice programs in existence, and then we could pair them, we could partner with them in order for them to come here.
Or we can just to be in contact with them and send them materials and get them involved in their own parents as teachers group maybe. And I also wanted to compliment the private preschools that took part in this. You kind of took a leap of faith, I think, because this was something really different and new. But thank you so much for participating in it, because it really helps everyone. And Sue, I know for a long time you've been wanting this to happen, so thank you so much.
I have a question, Jean. Once you identify those families that the barrier to preschool is financial, what can we do about that?
Well, I think there are some plans to look at some other funding sources. Keith and Lisa have been working on that. Right now, we have some grants that we use for scholarships, but we know that's not enough.
So that's one of the things that the action team would certainly have to look at. As you know, at an earlier board meeting this year, you approved Metasoft, and that's one of the categories that we want to do some search within Metasoft, is who is interested in supporting and funding early childhood. And Jean and her colleagues, and hopefully with some of our partnerships with our university colleagues, they will also be able to help us connect with some other opportunities where we might be able to find funding. But that's part of what that action team will have to really research. Where do we find additional funding for that, as well as space, or how do we partner with our private providers to ensure more students are participating in a program somewhere? Thank you.
I have a question. You had you talked about the study that was done before. Is there any plan or mechanism that for refreshing that data or tracking that data? Because I mean, it's only good for so long, and I was just wondering if as things develop, if there's a way to kind of keep a handle on that.
You talk about the market study,
Yeah.
Tom, last year. I think that's a really good point, and there, such as the awareness. We were kind of disappointed that there wasn't a greater awareness. As we did this phone survey about the full gamut of the programs that they were offering. So yes, I think they're really. We hope to have some benchmarks developed. I think that should be part of some of the planning each of those goal areas. So we really are seeing if there's some impacts. That's a really good question for us to really watch the data. Are we really having more awareness? Are we seeing more participation? Are we really understanding the barriers? Because those barriers may be all kinds of different barriers, and are we addressing those in a meaningful way?
And we do have we have some partnerships with private providers. We also have a lot of families that participate in private schools and our program. So, I guess our really focus is to help them be in a quality early childhood program, and of course parents have choice. So, and there are many fine private preschools and services in the community. So.
I just wanted to say, Jean, I appreciate all the work that went into this, the original study and then the steering committee too that worked on it. In particular, I'm excited about the partnerships because I think they can become some of the biggest advocates for Parkway down the road, even though they may take care of them when they're 3, 4, and 5. If we build the great bridges with them, then those kids will be much more prepared to take on our curriculum when they get here. So I'm really excited to see how that goes.
Yeah, we're very excited too. And when you really look at birth through 5 years of age, I don't think there's any way a district could serve child care for children birth through 5 years of age. I mean, that would just be, it'd be thousands and thousands of families. So
Yeah, I think our program will grow some, but it could never reach all these kids. And we need these people that do a fine job too.
I just want to say it was a pleasure to work with this committee, both with our Parkway staff and parents and those that operate other agencies for young children. But, I think the awareness factor for parents is really important because I know a lot of discussion took place about those children out there. There's many of them. Their parents have no idea about preschool education for their children, do not have family contacts, do not have friend contacts. Possibly they could not make it somewhere if they did know about it. But I think the increased public and parental awareness needs to be high priority, and it could be something that's ongoing.
I agree. Yeah, and I also think we have so many children that enter kindergarten that have never had any early childhood experience. So it's really, really vitally important because they're already behind when they start kindergarten. They've lost those years.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
I also wanted to thank Dr. Marty because without his initiative, none of this would have happened. We really value the board support and Dr. Marty's support, and we've had a lot of support over the years, but this really takes us to the next level. So we appreciate that.
I just have to add, I recently had an opportunity to go out and spend 2 sessions, and I'd like to do more in the future with 2 parent educators as part of the Parents as Teachers program. And I just have to tell you, you hear a lot about the program, but to observe it firsthand, I sat in chairs and couches and homes, and I watched our parent educators show tremendous teaching, awareness of development, helping parents, answering questions. So I just want to thank Jean and the staff, and actually the parent educator that I attended and watched, for allowing me to do that, and the parents who allowed me to come in and be part of that. I just sat there as a student and just took it in. These sessions last about an hour, and there's so much that happens in an hour. And so I don't know if any board members want to do that, but I just think we're so fortunate to be able to do that in Parkway and to reach a lot of families. It's just a wonderful opportunity for us to really spread the word about our involvement with young people and our awareness, but also start spreading the word about Parkway and start building a base. So it's just a wonderful experience.
I was a recipient of the Parents as Teachers, and I have to say, Susan Dale, if she's out there anywhere, she was our Parents as Teachers. Loved her, will remember her forever because it made me feel like I wasn't a stupid parent. You know, my kids were normal, but it's a fantastic program. I agree.
I agree too. I was a very eager participant, and my parent educator helped me convince my husband that we had an issue with one of my kids, that he thought I was an overly nervous mother and making it up, and the parent educator right away picked up on it. So thank you to all of you. I think we're going to take a very, very brief break and let these educators make their way home so they don't have to have too late of a night, and then we're going to hear about Fern Ridge. Thank you very much. Okay, we are all back.
Right there, Nikki.
We're going to call on Desi. Hi, Becky. We're going to learn about your ongoing work at Fern Ridge.
Very good. Thank you. President Feldman, Vice President Mogerman, members of the board, Dr. Marty, and Secretary Stover. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. And really, just to get right to the heart of what we're here to do is kind of present plans for of study that we're going to look at for our alternative high school at Fern Ridge. So with that, I kind of want to give a little bit of a background and some information, and then talk about we'll talk about the purpose of the study and kind of the outline of what we're looking to do. And so just a quick history of Fern Ridge. Task Force started in 1988, and their directive at that time was to provide an alternative credit-granting secondary school for selected students who could benefit from a smaller setting and a more personalized approach to enhance their academic and social development. So foundationally, we're kind of going to look at, is that still the appropriate thing? Is that still what we want Fern Ridge to be? Mission changes have shifted through the years, and leadership has certainly changed it through the years. We've had about 8 different principals. So, but that task force in 1988 opened a school that used to be a former elementary school, Fern Ridge, and it became Fern Ridge High School, and it's been part of the Parkway School District since 1992, working to help 10th through 12th grade students succeed when traditional or conventional methods have failed. Fern Ridge High School offers its students the same curriculum that is used in the other district's 4 traditional high schools. It's important to know that it's a school of choice. So the students they're not placed at Fern Ridge. There's an application, an interview process, and students and families choose and select Fern Ridge as their alternative high school. There's typically for enrollment, there's around 100 students is kind of the gauge, I would say. Wouldn't you say, Dr. Warren, that's kind of maintained there too. So a lot of people might not know the school mascot is the Mustang, which was selected by the students in their first year. Sometimes people confuse that with the Starfish because they use the Starfish story a lot about this one matter. But that is because that is part of the school's motto, because it matters. And so through the years, Parkway Fern Ridge High School has graduated nearly 700 students. And so that's pretty impressive when you consider that sometimes the alternative for some of these kids through the years was to not finish high school. So again, a voluntary enrollment, the school has had a tradition of keeping about a 10-to-1 ratio for adults to student, teacher to student. And if there's 100 students, there may be about 100 different reasons why a student selected to go there. They're all unique, and I think that's kind of the beauty and design of the school, was to be able to personalize education, really make personal connections with the students. And through each of those shifts in leadership, there's been brought different trials. It's actually, Becky could probably talk to this as well, that it's kind of a nice place to be principal because you can try different things and implement them fairly quickly. For example, one of in her tenure, Dr. Warren, the longest principal of Fern Ridge in her 6th year, has developed a system that allowed students to earn more credits at a quicker pace by implementing a 4-semester system. So students can come and rotate in every 9 weeks, where usually they used to be, for example, I think this is real important to note, at one time it followed exactly the same kind of school year schedule, and so if a kid was doing poorly in week 8 already at the school, they would just have to kind of sit it out or maybe stop attending their home school, whereas this has offered an opportunity for kids to enroll in a kind of a rolling basis. So there's more opportunities and turnover as far as the student body goes. So just looking back and thinking about the other night in our Project Parkway meeting, Paul Tandy talked about our buildings being 45 years old, the average building, and went back to look at 1968, I think was his slide. It talked about some changes. And, I think some of those were to be expected. There was some like, oh yeah, that was 1968. But just since 1992, and since the school first opened up, Cold War, and it, Silence of the Lambs was the best film that year. Johnny Carson's Last Tonight Show. So we just had Jay Leno. So we went through a whole nother generation of Tonight Shows during this time. Remember those guys? They took over the presidency that year. So Clinton, Gore defeat Bush and Quayle, I believe. So, and cassettes gave way to compact discs. So, and there was something launched publicly called the World Wide Web for public use at that time. So a lot has actually gone on. It seems like it's gone quick. I know we're all thinking back, wow, that happened pretty fast. So outside world, we had those changes, and there's been changes in Parkway. And most recently, one of ours is kind of looking at our house. And we have the new mission and vision, guided by a comprehensive and dynamic strategic plan. We think about, we've embraced the professional learning communities and the collaborative teams. Higher learning standards, higher rigor, character education standards, standards that focus on social emotional development of students, focusing on the whole child. The use of data in daily practice. We think about MSEP 5, and I think it's important to note, internally and externally held to higher standards. In MSEP 5, in the stated accreditations, I think it's important to keep in mind that an alternative high school is still a high school, a credit granting institution, and it's going to be held to the same academic standards that all our other high schools are held to. And that's really important to think about in terms of, as the legislation looks at plans for accreditation and where schools fall, you can term it as an alternative high school, but it's going to be held to the same academic standards. The rigor and relevance portion, but many of these changes directly link to a shift in practice focus on adult inputs to a new and heightened focus on student outputs. And I think that's our overall theme. And of course, if I could put this in terms of a professional learning community question, how do we respond as a